Good afternoon, one and all, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And I want to come to you guys today and say thank you again for coming in on this Saturday. Today, what are we going to talk about today? Today, what we're going to talk about is just this. What happens if you have a late payment on your credit report? What should you do if you have a late payment on your credit report? That's the topic that we're going to tackle today. So I want to jump right into that and go ahead and start telling you what are some of the things that you can do if you have a late payment on your credit report, especially if you have one that's recent. And the reason this topic came up is because I have a client that had this issue come up very recently. So let me tell you some of the things that I advised my client to go ahead and do. So first of all, the higher your score, unfortunately, for the people that have been very good stewards over your credit, the people that have worked on it diligently, people that have a 700, a 750, a 845, or whatever it is, the higher your score, the bigger the impact it will have on your credit report and your credit score. So that's unfortunate because you've done all of this work to get your credit score to where you want it to be or to where it's at. And unfortunately, one mistake, one slip up could really detrimentally hurt your credit score. So that's unfortunate. But here's what are some of the things that that you can do to go ahead and increase your credit score. And actually, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a late payment. It can be any derogatory item that hits your credit report. The higher your score, actually, the bigger the impact it is. They say the higher, or they say the bigger that they are, the harder they fall. Or if in baseball, the harder they throw, the further they go. Just ask Chapman from the Cubs about that if that's true. It's absolutely true. So the higher your credit score, you may have even a bigger fall than some people that have a lower credit score. You have further to go. You have further to go down. So it may affect you detrimentally. So it's not an exact science. It could be anywhere from 50 to 100 points. 100 points. Can you imagine missing your payment for whatever reason, missing a payment on a credit card or your automobile or anything by 30 days, and all that hard work that you have done has been taken away in one fell swoop? So we're talking 50 to 100 points. So let's just imagine, for an example, if you had a 700 credit score. Your score is 700. 700 puts you in the good range. So the ranges run, from poor to, excellent. Excellent is 750 and above, which would be a good goal for you, which we're going to talk about in the Credit Score KISS today. And KISS is keep it smart and simple. So if you have a 700 credit score and you're in that good range and you drop 100 points, now you're down to 600. That puts you in the poor category or the bad credit category. So 600 to 650 is poor. If you're at 650 to 700, you're in the fair range. And so it can drop you past fair and down to poor by just missing one thing. So that is some information that you need to do, or some things that you can do, hopefully, to keep that away from your credit score if you happen to be late. So the first thing to do is not be late. Don't be late. 35% of your overall credit score is based on your payment history. So if you're going to be late, just don't be 30 days late. And I always hesitate to give out this particular piece of advice because people will start to elongate when they go ahead and make their payments. But if you're going to be late, just don't be 30 days late. So if your payment happens to be on the 15th of the month, and you can't make it on the 15th of this particular month, then you definitely need to make that payment before the 15th of the next month, because then you're going to be 30 days late and it will hit your credit report after that. And unfortunately, even though the system is pretty sophisticated, sometimes you even fall into a catch-22, if you will, and say you make your payment 20 days after, but maybe the credit bureau or the credit card company or the auto place or whoever it is or your mortgage lender has already reported, and they may have reported that you're 30 days late. Now, of course, there's a way that you can get out of that on your credit report, but there's no need for you to have to go through those kinds of things simply by being late. So if you are going to be late, don't be 30 days late. So if your payment is due on the 15th of the month, make sure you make that payment. And I would absolutely make that payment well before the 15th of the next month. You do not want to take the chance that it hits your credit report. And again, if it does, you can drop 50 to 100 points. A second thing that you can do is to contact the creditor. Contact your creditor before. That is the thing that you really need to do. Contact the creditor before you are late and see what your options are. Oftentimes, they have some things that they may be able to do for you to help that stay off of your credit report. First of all, when you contact them, you need to tell them that you value this account and you value your credit and your credit history with them specifically. So you would like for them to help you out in this regard. Be nice. Be contrite when you're talking to them. Maybe the options are that you can skip a payment. Maybe you can refinance if that's something that you need to do or feel you can do. Maybe you can just pay the interest on it. So maybe you don't have the entire payment. If you have a car payment and your car payment is $500 and you can't make the $500, but your interest payment on it is only $80, that's a lot better than, just letting it go and being 30 days late or even falling to 60 or 90 days late. See if you can make an interest payment on it. If you have a personal loan, oftentimes if you have a personal loan for one of those kinds of lenders, you're able to do those kinds of things with those kinds of accounts. It's an installment loan. You pay a certain amount of interest every month on that loan. Potentially, you have the possibility to do just an interest payment, which would be much less than what your overall payment is. And especially if you've had an account for quite some time, if you've had an account for a long time, you've been paying on it for 18 months, 2 years, or 4 years, then the interest is even lower on those at that particular time. When you get out to 4 years, the interest is even lower. So maybe you can go ahead and do just the interest payment. So those are some of the things that you can ask for when you call and talk to your creditor, but make sure you do it before you are late. Give your creditor a call, let them know you're going to be late, and see if you have any additional options in there. Sometimes they can make this payment and take this payment, and you can, when you skip it, they'll basically put it on the end of your loan. So you'll still wind up making that payment, and say if you had a 24-month term, now you're basically paying for 25 months. So that may be options for you. So make sure that you do that. A third thing that you can do when it comes to your late payments and trying to avoid it hitting your credit report is to ask them to backdate your payment. Now, this is very important. This is one of the things I told my client to do, was to call their creditor and ask them to backdate this particular payment. It is possible at most places. Now, they may not be able to backdate it, 15 days or something of that nature, but 3 or 4 or 5 days, they may be able to backdate your payment if you're making that payment to them. So, for example, if you are running up on 30 days late, your payment was due on the 15th of October, and now it's the 15th of November, and you're making your payment on the 16th of November. You are technically 30 days late, correct? So if you're 30 days late, ask them, could they backdate it for you? Is it possible for them to go ahead and backdate it to November the 11th, November the 12th? Whatever it is that's going to keep you from being 30 days late, ask them if they're able to do that. Now, I warn you, oftentimes the first person that answers the phone when you call, they may not know that is possible. And some of these other options, they may not know that they are possible. And if they tell you no, what you're going to do is you're going to ask to speak to the manager or the supervisor. Oftentimes, they have more authority. And, of course, they should know the system better and see what's possible and what's not possible when it comes to getting some things done for their customers. So make sure that you ask for the manager and or the supervisor when it comes to trying to navigate these waters to keep that late payment off of your credit report. So those are some of the things that you can do today. You can start calling your creditors on Monday if you are having an issue with late payments at all. You can do just that. Now, afterwards, let's say you are late, you have been late, and it did hit your credit report. Make sure you check your credit report. Even check your credit report if they decide they're going to backdate it or whatever for you, or any options for you. Check your credit report, and you know where to do that at. You're going to check your credit report because you signed up with a system like Credit Karma or Quizzle or Credit Sesame or something like that, or Credit Check. Make sure you check your credit report to make sure that it does not hit your credit report as 30 days late. Now, I suggest you do it the month after because it takes a little time for that to actually hit your credit report. But make sure you check it to see if it has been 30 days late. So if it is on your credit report, there are other options you can do. You can always dispute it and say you were not 30 days late. Now, were you really 30 days late or not? That's up to the credit grantor or issuer, as well as the credit bureau, to determine that for you. So you can always make a dispute in that regard about your credit report, and if you have been late at all. That's what you're going to do. You're going to make a dispute on that to see if you really have to take that hit on your credit report. So those are some of the things that I want to tell you that you can do to try to lessen the impact that you have on your credit report when it comes to being late. But again, the very first thing I told you to do is to not be late. Again, 35% of your score is based off of your payment history. So don't be late in the very first place. Now, some of the things that you can do besides that, if you're going to have an issue, please start looking around at other options for you. So you may have other options if you're going to be late on a payment. Maybe you have good enough credit where you're getting those offers in the mail that say you can, consolidate your other credit card payments on one credit card, and they're going to give you 0 interest for 12 months. Currently, they're even offering 0 interest for 18 and 20 months right now. So if you get those options in the mail, then take a look at those options and see how it's going to work for you. Now, I'll tell you what I've been receiving and what I've seen in that regard. So I'll get a offer in the mail from one of my credit card companies that says you can have 0 interest if you want to, write a check to yourself personally, for whatever amount, or if you want to consolidate some of your other high interest credit cards, you have that option to do so. So if you have that option, what they're doing is they'll take that money, you pay off your other creditors and all of those things, and you're going to have that particular amount, whatever you wrote that check for or whoever you paid off, you'll have that amount at 0% interest. Now, often, a lot of us are paying high interest rates, and high, I'm saying, I think 15% is too high as far as I'm concerned. But oftentimes it's at 21, sometimes 24%. Those are very high interest rates at this point in time. So you can do that. You can do those things and pay off those high interest credit cards or personal loans or what have you. And what will happen is you'll pay it down. You'll have 18 months, or if they say just 12 months or whatever, you'll have that term to pay it off at 0 interest. Now, what you want to do is make sure that you pay it off in that particular time frame. So whatever they send you saying, hey, here's your minimum payment is only $50. You can't just pay the minimum payment because you're never going to pay that amount off in the 12 months or the 18 months. You've got to take whatever amount that you went ahead and financed, if you will, at this particular time, divide it by that number, 18, let's pick 18, divide it by 18 and make that payment every month. Because oftentimes, if you don't read the fine print, what you'll find out is that your interest will start over yet again. So your interest starts over at the beginning of when you actually took the loan out, not on an amount that you have left. So say you've paid it all except for $200. You've paid all of it off within the 18-month term except for just $200 of it. Now, you're thinking you're only going to get charged interest on that $200. That's not the case. You're going to get charged interest on the entire amount that you use. So it's not what's left over, it's the entire amount. The very first amount, you'll get interest charged from then. So that's what you need to make sure. You need to absolutely make sure that you pay that off within that term. Since we use 18 months, pay it off in 18 months. Take your amount, divide it by 18, and that's the payment that you want to make every month to make sure that you don't get charged any interest on that account. Now, several things happen when you do this. When you do this, then you're also getting the benefit, if you will, of having some freed up credit on the other credit cards. You have some freed up credit, so hopefully it helps you a little